Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of TA Tech Unboxed, the podcast that's chatting to the people behind the technologies that we use in the TA and HR community every day. If you are listening to this, if your consumption preference is to listen, then please head over to YouTube and check out the demos that we're hosting. I know it really helps the guys out, and they're super fun to watch. They're really quick and punchy. So go check out some demos. We've got a really interesting guest on today, but first of all, my name is Chris Haslam, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Darren PowerPoint Bush.
I don't want that label. Do you not want that label?
You like it? You don't want the label.
I want the label.
For our listeners, anyone who is, I'm catching Darren off guard here, by the way, and I haven't prepared this. For anyone that follows Darren, which is probably all of you, because no one knows who I am. Darren has been breaking down why PowerPoint sucks so much. And Darren, I thought this was a perfect show to give you a platform.
We do a separate one on that, maybe, and release it another time. But it is. Yeah, full show on it. Yeah, it's a passion project. I've done it for 2 years now. I've been working on it, and literally, I just want it to close. I think I was trying to release it in February early this year, and it just, for some reason, I just got busy. I just couldn't finish it. And it will be June the 3rd. This will be out by now, but if it's June the 3rd, go back, have a look at some of my featured profile posts. But I'm going to do a video, which I'm going to drop on TA Tech Unboxed as well, which will be me showing you what 10 features are missing from presentation software in general. Just like things are missing completely, and that you would want. And I'm trying to point out there's a lack of innovation in this space. If you're the one who sits through and as an audience member through endless PowerPoint slides or have problems searching or finding it, this is for you.
I love that you've literally gone crazy and you've gone at Microsoft.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I don't know if you have you ever seen? I know it's very obscure, but there's a really good SNL sketch with Ryan Gosling that he did about 5 years ago.
Man,
he's a man, and he does it very well. And it's about Papyrus, the font. It's about this guy having a breakdown about the Papyrus font that was used in Avatar. And he has this real thing. He's like, I see it everywhere. He's having a breakdown, goes to see a therapist, and he's saying about, like, I know what you did. He wants to speak to the designers, like, you basically won awards off this font. And I want to do a little comedy sketch on me doing something similar about PowerPoint.
It's not here. It could be SNL. Unboxed.
I have actually written a sketch, but it's purely copied from what Ryan did in that show, but I tweaked it just to refer to Microsoft about, I know what you did.
ChatGPT?
No, actually not at all. No, I didn't use it, actually. No. Predominantly, it's quite a lot of it is copy and paste from what he said. Just tweet it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm appreciating it because I hate PowerPoint. I hate visual. I don't hate visual tools, but I appreciate someone's passion for something. And
yeah.
I'm telling you, I appreciate your passion.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's nothing to do
with our show, by the way.
It is nothing, yeah. And one of the things, someone, I don't know if you've seen, there's a spate now of people copying and pasting other people's posts. There's a lot of plagiarism going on posts. Yeah, I've seen quite a few people show like 3 screenshots of exact same writing in their content, but saying screenshots of other people saying the same posts over and over again, and getting like big reactions, over 1,000 reactions and engagement and comments and so on. So they're following it.
I feel like I've not had that, and therefore
that was coming to my point, Chris. I think it's the content we produce is very niche, and no one they looked at my PowerPoint stuff and went, "That looks rubbish. I'm not copying that."
I'm just gonna
No. Well, why would you put that on? So no. So if there's anything I'm out there is I'm not here about audience building at all. I'm purely about putting out a message about
Are you just a pissed off guy who's
in theory?
I love your passion for this project, by the way. So I know I'm laughing, but I'm doing it in the guise of I want to support you. Which is why I brought it up here, because I love you and I think you have an amazing energy for fixing these kind of things. And I'm
Thank you.
Interested to follow what you've got up your sleeve with it. And I hope you saw I was supportive in February.
I did, yeah.
Time for you, but with work and stuff, but I'm interested to see what it is you've got, because 2 years deep, and I know how much you like to sketch and play around with stuff, so I imagine you've done some cool stuff. So for anybody that's listening, please follow Darren. Ignore TA Tech Unboxed this week. Let's work out what the Ellie's done with PowerPoint, and don't, for God's sake, tell Microsoft. Otherwise, we'll
Tell
have
him.
a lawsuit
Tell
in our
him.
hands.
I want to go. I'm happy
Yeah.
to.
It might
Yeah.
be good for you, but I don't know
Yeah.
if it'd be good for Unboxed.
No, true.
And that brings us nicely, Darren, to today's guest. Who do we have on the show?
Yeah. So today, Chris, we've got Bill Fischer, CTO of Vonq. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Hey, Darren and Chris. It's good to be here. It's good to be here.
Great to have you as well. For people who don't know you, Bill, can you able to give us sort of a brief description about you and your background and the list of companies you've built or been part of over the last couple of years?
Sure. So the started my career, I guess my tech career in the Bay Area. So did a number of venture-backed startups, typically in the either as a founder or a senior marketing. So I kind of came up through marketing, then kind of moved into product, and then built a semantic search tech company. So we were teaching companies how to read. It ended up being very useful for parsing CVs and search and match, and for crawling social networks and building profiles. So a product that we built relevant to HR tech is the social CV product. But that company was bought by Dice. So they bought us for the semantic tech, the social CV. It became the open web product at Dice. Ran an R&D group there for a few years. Took a couple years off and hooked up with a private equity group in London. Had an interesting opportunity. Was involved in the M&A process for Vonq. Took a strategic role and then took an operating role. So I'm now CTO, CPO at Vonq.
That is a wonderful summary. Yeah, of a very kind of illustrious career as well within tech. What first sparked your interest in technology innovation within the TA space? The
within
space.
TA?
Well, the recruitment,
Actually, not a lot of interest. Not a lot of interest in recruitment. Not a lot of interest in recruitment. It was a semantic search. It was semantic search. So it was the ability to build search engines that had a better understanding of text, and the extra fidelity that gave. So there was that interest, and then just. And then I guess applied AI. So applied AI ML, just seeing where else that technology would lead us. And that's what's so exciting about the large language models, is that they have a semantic understanding, 10x, the capabilities of the best models, state-of-the-art models that we were building, even just 3 or 4 years ago. And so it's really been fun to continue that journey.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, fascinating. I think is Bill the first CTO we've brought on, Darren?
You might be, Bill. We've had a number of CEOs,
CPOs we've had on,
and CPOs.
I think it's probably more fair to think of me as a CPO than a. Right. Yeah, I build products and build teams. I've been running engineering organizations for 15 years.
I find that fascinating. I find it fascinating the way you've come into this, and the semantic search thing is, way above my head. But I can totally and utterly see what you mean. I made sure I Googled from our prep call what semantic search was before this to make sure I fully understood what you were talking about. And I'm fascinated with some of the things you were saying about your approach to semantic search and AI. Can you, for me, not for our listeners because they're smarter than me, can we dumb down that bit and explain a little bit what you mean by it?
I'd be happy to. So semantic search is kind of you try to understand the meaning of words, but the traditional methods of approaching that were really building libraries of words, or building a taxonomy of words. And so you talk about neural nets. So basically, you'd have a list of keywords. You could use machine learning to tie keywords together. But when you would look at a document, you would look at it, you'd search for particular keywords, and then you'd use a lookup table to try to understand what that meant. So that's kind of the basic neural net. And then part of it is looking at words in context. So coming up with smart ways of bundling words together. So if you have a president or vice president or assistant to the vice president, they're three very different roles. And if you use AI and ML intelligently, you can understand the difference between those three. So that's part of the semantic search. And then large language models take that a step further, that they really try to understand a single word, but then they look at a single word. They then reevaluate that single word with the word next, the adjacent words. They reevaluate the word with the words in the sentence. They reevaluate the word in the context of the paragraph, the document, in greater context. And that's why large language models are vastly superior in understanding the meaning of a document than other approaches.
Is that why talent acquisition is an interesting space for those two things to be married? Because we're all based on two core documents, right? CVs and job descriptions.
Yeah, no, it's a really good way to think of it. So it's HR, it's human relations. There's natural language. I think HR was quick to pick up on AI ML for the understanding of parsing of CVs. So that was hugely important. It's just a real challenge. I mean, the commercial parsers processed 9 billion CVs last year using AI ML. But there's so many applications, and you have to take a first pass to see if it's relevant. But then you also you want to put that data in your system of record, your ATS, and you want to be able to extract all the keywords, and you want to do it intelligently. What's a job title? What's a skill? What's a company name? What's a location? Yeah. So what I talked about earlier, the semantic search. So part of it is you build a list of all the job titles. You build a list of all the skills. You build a list of all the locations. And then when you're reading a document, you'll go, this is a location, this is a job title, this is a skill. If you want to take it further, you'll do related skills. You'll do skills related to job titles, and so forth. So that was the work. That was the work we were doing, at DICE, and I was doing before that. Is trying to do that, that level of understanding, and then large language models just take it to a whole nother level. So it's very different.
They take everything to a whole nother level, apparently, according to this podcast.
They are. They're crazy good.
Yeah,
they're crazy good.
I think that's where, Bill, I think I got to get to know you because you're going through, before you take up to today, the last 18 months, well, maybe 12 months, you've been at Vonq, you've been building in public, which has been fascinated to watch. And anyone who, any company as well that is listening, it's one of the best things I always suggest to do, because you get to know you, Bill, get to know about the things you're trying to build, and you feel it ingrained as well in your journey. So I feel like every time you're posting updates, I feel like I want to know more as well, and it's great to see. So you able to share a little bit about what you've been doing over the last 12 months?
Yeah, happy to. So the building in public, it wasn't super popular within the company. It raised a lot of concerns at the board level. It seemed like to do it right, it has to be authentic, which means wins and losses. And so we try to put all that out there. We weren't really sure where the product would go. So getting the feedback from the community has been super helpful. Just, what's of interest, what isn't of interest. So we've been, it started with R&D experiments. So we started posting those. But the background was we looked at the top of the funnel talent acquisition process, and we broke it into 17 different steps. And the test was, could we automate all 17 steps? And then what we did is we picked off the 2 or 3 that we thought would be the most difficult. We started with those, and then we've been systematically just picking off the rest of that stack. So that's everything from search and match to interviewing to scheduling to parsing to sourcing, just kind of running through those. And what we've done is we do some R&D in each of those areas. We kind of share what we're doing. We get feedback from the community. We refine it, and we're now productizing all that. But there's some things like we legit don't know. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of debates about video interviews,
So
avatar.
yeah, the avatar. You had an avatar out originally, I think, and then we've obviously we saw Reid Hoffman have his avatar as well, where Reid was being interviewed by Reid. And then yeah, do you want to explain about do you want to explain about with the video avatar thing that's changed?
Sure. So again, this was a tough decision for us because if you look at the rate of change in the industry and you look at video, the quality of video avatars, they were terrible a year ago. 6 months ago, they were okay. 2 months ago, they were pretty good. And so our assumption is following that trend going forward, 6 months from now, they're going to be amazing. But we took something from 2 months ago that was state of the art. We took it to some of our enterprise customers, some of our partners. We did some public demos at events, and people just found the latency. So you're having a conversation, but there would be kind of a 2-second pause before they'd go, "Thank you, Darren. That's a very interesting answer."
Yeah.
And it was just very distracting. It was very distracting to people. Nobody could see wanting to go through that experience. So we tried that with
That's interesting.
I know, I see that. I feel that. Well, you know when you get a cold call, and you pick up and you're like, hello, and there's like a 2-second delay, and then you hear the thing kick in. It's like that for me. I'm like, you've lost me.
Right.
You've lost me. And I think it was the same when you said, Phil, when you showed the feedback, is the video. It's like the 2 seconds you kind of lose that intimate.
So there's that. We started with real, like with real people that we animated, and that just made it even worse. Yeah, I think so. Like the latency with somewhat awkward gesticulations, it made it really bad. We then switched to animations, thinking that might be a little more forgiveness if an animation, but even that, it was too distracting. But I took it to customers because I really believed it. But what I believed was that by the time we were deployed with them, it will be natural. Like it'll be seamless. But all of our demos would just turn into discussions about just how awkward the video part, and they'd overlook like everything else we built. We'd end up just having a discussion about that. And it turns out, audio might just be the best anyway.
Can I ask?
Be the best? Sure.
Can I ask about the video in the future? Then you're saying audio is the best, but in like 6 months, 12 months time, could you see video coming in? And if is video, is it going to be animated? Is it going to be like? Is it going to be kind of a real kind of type person there as well? Would you? What's your prediction for that?
I don't know. So my thought and our approach will be the choose your fighter approach. From video games, and so people will be given.
So you as a candidate can essentially choose in terms of who you're interviewing with.
Cartoon
that
people.
way.
So somebody applies for a job. We do a basic assessment to see does their CV match the job description. We do a gap analysis. If there are things that are clearly missing, we'll have our system ask a few follow-up questions, just to gather that information. And then if it seems like it makes sense, we then go to a screening interview, just to dig into a couple of the areas that our system identifies are most important. But at this point, we want to keep the candidate engaged because we're asking them to invest their time in a process that might not go anywhere. And for the video or for the interview, our notion now, having tested a lot of different configurations, is choose your fighter. So they'll be able to pick a cartoon character, something that looks like a real person, or just do the audio interview with some sort of waveform animation or something like you've seen what OpenAI is doing with the dancing circles. And let people decide. It'll be a revealed choice. But we want people to engage in the process. It's the transcript that's important to our system. It's not anything else. And whatever people feel most comfortable with, will be the way we go.
I would like Sonic the Hedgehog to interview me today.
I mean, absolutely. Why not? Why not?
That will at least make me feel
but I think the job seekers will let us know what they prefer.
Yeah.
I mean, if we wanted, I'm sure we could do some sort of sophisticated, well, not that sophisticated. You look at, the quality of interviews, if people are more comfortable, you can do some sort of basic sentiment analysis to see are they more comfortable talking to a waveform, just the audio or,
Yeah.
or cartoon or.
Yeah.
Have you done any research there yet? Have you found like
No, not on that. Not on that. So our basic thought is we want to do the format of interview candidates are most comfortable with, since we're off asking them to partake in a new approach to this process, and then we'll go from there. Take it from there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Kind of how it's gone. I've seen someone say about you could have, for example, Morgan Freeman in the voice of Morgan Freeman interview. I mean, just asking the interview questions in itself would just be very unusual. But it's again quite
Yeah.
unique.
So we want it to be fun. We want to get good results. We want people to be. We want people to be comfortable.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of let them
Yeah.
let them decide. The hard part is the tech behind it. It's the generating the natural conversation.
Okay.
So it's different than other approaches to conversational AI, where you have a bunch of trees and you try to follow some, you push somebody down a structured path, and you try to understand where all the branches are, so you can anticipate those. But the AI interviewer we build knows the areas it wants to cover, and then it'll be responsive to the conversation. So if somebody answers and they're non-responsive, the AI will ask the question in a different way.
Wow.
And we'll just try to continue.
Yeah.
But we think making it a conversation is really powerful.
Interestingly, I've got, funny enough, a poll for this going out tomorrow, because I'd be really interested to hear what candidates feel. Only because I got back from a conference last week and we got into a conversation about the value that TA now adds to the process. And it was Scotty got me thinking about how Scotty AI, the guys out there,
Stan.
they got me thinking about actually if the process should be standardized and structured, then really what is the human is a variable in this that's dangerous, right? We have bad days and don't keep the vibe and don't keep the. But I thought, just off the back of the event and a conversation I was having with another TA person who she'd been in the role for over 5 years at her current place, we were discussing how she deeply knew answers to questions that you can't really teach AI to answer. Things like what's it like working for the CEO, or and stuff that's like holds authenticity for the applicant. I'd just be really fascinated to know, like, how do you see AI eventually answering those questions? Are we just got to feed it the knowledge, or like, how do we overcome that bit that's missing?
So that raises a couple of interesting points. So one is a knowledge limitation, but even a human has many limitations to knowledge. So often an HR professional is screening candidates in an area that's outside their domain, so they don't have that domain knowledge, and AI interviewers that have an LLM as their foundation have lots of domain knowledge in lots of areas. So there's that. In terms of internal understanding, I mean, it really just depends. You can augment, a large language model with lots of comforting information. So you can probably go pretty deep in that. Some of the qualitative stuff, could be more tricky to do.
That's a time thing, though. That's going to be a time thing, though, right? Surely.
Not necessarily. I mean, you could just. I mean, there's a competitor to Slack that has an AI built in, and which means you have to expose all of the internal communication.
On Slack doing that now? They're switching that on, aren't they? For
Slack is doing some of that, but there's some kind of pure play entrance in that. But if if the large language model has access to internal comms, it could understand. It's crazy. The sentiment analysis stuff is really good now. Standardization, I don't know if there's a benefit to that or not. So I think there's some advantages to having a more natural conversation. Again, it's the transcript.
I mean, more like the questions should be asked that need to be asked at each stage, right? there's information that we need. I think from the standardization point of view, AI is it's perfect. We're really not going to beat it, and you can 20,000x the number of them I'm capable of doing in a day. Like that part of, I firmly believe that part of the process is where we're at risk. If that's all you're doing is running a scorecard, then you're in trouble. But
so I agree with that. But yeah, I think the other thing is when you look at, you ask recruiters, you ask candidates, would they feel comfortable with an AI interview? And the first response tends to be no. No, I would much rather talk to a person. But our belief, and the data will teach us this, is that when you present a candidate with that option and they're sitting there, and they go like, oh, I could just do this right now, or I have to take off work on Thursday and I have to get dressed up and I have to travel across town, I think they might see that right now I'm one of 1,000 candidates. I have no idea how much time I want to invest in this process. If this gets me to the round of 100 or the round of 10, take the lowest effort approach to kind of make it through those first couple of rounds. And I think when people, like when they're presented with the options and they start to think through what they mean, I think they're going to lean towards the AI approach.
I think the time of this as well. Today, I think Michael Blakely shared, and I'm sure it'll be out on Recruiting Brain Food, about the article from the Times. I don't know if you saw that. An employee from HMRC, he applied to a job, and he didn't speak. He didn't speak to anyone at all throughout the process, from interview to even, for example, the offer. I think he just got an accept reject offer.
That's
yeah, and then he turned up on the day, and that was his first day. It was the first time he spoke to someone from HMRC.
It's crazy, but humans aren't always. Humans have good days and bad days. Humans like their boss. They don't like the boss. So there are a lot of. It's not always clear to me that there's an advantage, to having a human in the loop. I think if you went through the whole process and were rejected by the AI, I think you might want a second chance with a human. If you make it through the process and you have the job, yes, you missed out on the ability to talk to somebody, but I don't know how much one is missed in that process.
I think at the beginning it's going to take a while, but I think a couple of years, you start seeing being more of a norm. Expectation.
I think certainly for me, I've got to feel comfortable with. I've never chatted to my boss. Like, what if my boss is like, I don't know.
But you can ask though. You can ask what the boss is like. Who's the person?
The AI is going to feed me. The AI is going to feed me the answer that it's going to feed from the company, isn't it? Like, it's so is a recruiter though. So is a person going to feed the selling answer.
We're building a system to go to the hiring manager. So we think human in a loop, is going to be strongly. We think the time a candidate needs to invest and the time a company wants to invest with a person. We think at some stage in the process, both will see a benefit to having a human in the loop, and we think at the hiring manager, you get the most the signal to noise from a conversation with the hiring manager. Is better for everyone, than some of the intermediate screening.
I think that's the prediction, isn't it? Where in theory the hiring manager will have a recruiter assist AI, and they will do some of the duties, responsibilities that you would expect from a recruiter. You can call upon a recruiter if you're struggling, and you could call on, or you could just manage it yourself from job advertising to doing the interview schedule. You can do it all through AI. I think that's the prediction. But yeah, we're still not there yet. It's still several years away from that. But
I think we are. But again, if I was applying for work, I think I would want to invest my time at the round of 5, or the round of 10. But I don't know how much I'd want to invest, previous to that.
Yeah, sure. Because I have a question, because we're talking about this product that you're building in public. Because Vonq is obviously a much bigger organization. You able to explain where, from start to end, what your product you're building in public, and the same question again for Vonq as well. Explain in terms of from start to end what do you provide. That'd be
Cool.
great.
So the Vonq Copilot product. So the brief I gave the engineering team is I want to be able to give the system a 10-word prompt, and from that I want it to be able to run the entire process to the hiring manager. So the example we typically use is, I'm hiring uh, an Apple genius, for our Portland, Oregon location. And from that sentence, the AI will build the job description, will evaluate the job description, will build the queries, search the internal database, you do the sourcing function. From the sourcing function, it'll identify the 30 best fit, from the talent pool, communicate with those, invite them to see if they're interested. If you don't have enough candidates from that process, it then will make a media recommendation, which is part of the Vonq core business. So it'll then take the job description, convert that to an ad, distribute that to LinkedIn or Indeed or Monsterboard or Career Builder. The candidates would then see the ad, click on it. They would then talk to our AI. The AI would then do the gap analysis. What are some requirements that aren't listed on the CV? I can do the knockout questions. Can the person pick up 20 kilos? Are they willing to commute to Lyon? It then builds a short list of all the candidates. It'll then interview the people from the short list, score the interview, score the whole candidate, package all that up in a dossier, hand it to the hiring manager. So that's the
Nice.
basic Copilot product.
Yeah.
Is everything to the hiring manager. But all of that just starts with the 10 words at the beginning. The AIs take over the rest. To do that, we've built agents. So we have an agentic architecture. So we have a sourcing agent that is just trained on all the tools you need to be an effective sourcer. We have an assessment agent, which is just trained to do that, an interview agent. So the agents communicate back to each other. So they perform a task, they then report back to the agent operator. I finished that, pass it to the next
Nice.
one. So it's very different than other copilots where you have every person in an organization building their own prompts, then trying to use a large language model to tackle each of those areas.
Yeah.
Whereas the system we've built, you could have 30,000 recruiters. They're all using the same 12 agents. And over time, each of those 12 agents will be so dialed in to how that company wants to recruit that you can get the benefit of that in the organization. As opposed to having to train 20,000 people on how to use large language models.
Wow.
That's just Vonq Copilot.
Yeah, so it's Vonq Copilot. So our core business is a recruitment marketing platform. So we use AI in that. We basically, you have a job at an ATS. You want to promote it. Our system will look at the job. It'll come up with a media recommendation. You can choose to accept the media recommendation. It then takes the job from the ATS, packages it in each of the different media channels that you want. For some reason, every media channel has decided to have their own taxonomy. So you have to use quite a bit of AI and then some basic just if-then rules. Just so you can distribute the job. And then we add in the tracking tags, and then we manage the purchase as well in an analytics platform. So that's kind of our core business. And we do some employer branding. We've got a job distro product that kind of does that at scale. We've built all of that as a standalone platform. We also have it within an ATS. We have 35 ATSs where that product is integrated into the ATS. And so companies will, within the ATS, they'll create a job. System will just go, would you like to promote it? Here's the recommendation, and then manage the rest. We do that in partnership with ATSs. So we have a rev share with ATSs.
We have a question we normally ask most guests, Bill, which we'll ask you at the end, so don't answer it now, but is what's next for Vonq? Is there anything you haven't built yet? You guys look like you've covered everything. Like I'm flicking. I've got the site up on the right here, and I'm just flicking through like services, product suite. Where are you guys seeing the next big kind of gap?
Yeah, so this is where I'm going to get in trouble because I like building. And our private equity likes focus. Our private equity owners, like focus. So there's some inherent tension between those two. I think the set of products I've outlined represents what we want. So we want to have something for the entire top of the funnel, talent attraction, talent acquisition process. So that's our domain. So we don't want to be a system of record, like an ATS. We don't want to have some of the other functionality in the process. So we don't want to go. So we partner with ATSs. They're important commercial partners for us. So we want to stay away from payroll, system of record, other elements that you see in an ATS. So top of the funnel, and we're just kind of working our way through all of it.
One of the things, it's funny. I mean, this honestly, we can go through so much, Bill. I know we're coming out of time, but one of the things I saw as well, based on your description around the different agents, there's an argument around there's a sort of a recruiter enablement or hiring manager enablement function where you can ask the agent, when you're talking about there's so many different things, different recruiters speaking to the different agents, is that you could start sharing sort of best practice there. Or at least like in terms of information as well that you need about certain teams or culture or values and so on, so things like that.
Yeah, so that's where we've taken a very different path. So the recruiter enablement we think is great, and I think that's going to be I think that'll be the dominant approach to using a large language model is the enablement. Help me write a job description.
Yeah.
Help me understand a skill. Help me understand a CV. Or doing that. So our agent approach is that a company will be effectively fine-tuning each of these agents to perform the role in the way the company wants. So the skills assessment over time, as they select certain candidates over others, or if they want to prioritize certain skills over others, or hard skills or soft skills, all of that will be kind of new prompts that refine the output from the agent. So we have a reinforcement learning, human feedback, but applying that at the agent level so that everything somebody does at a company in the TA function gets saved and built into the platform. It just prevents having each individual having to discover independently how they want to do it. So it's a very different approach. It's an approach that has slowed us down because it's difficult to do, but we think it's the right right way to do it. All the point solutions that are doing kind of enablement, but doing the large language model, we just think it's we don't really know where we can add value in that world.
Yeah.
And then workflow is very important. So having all of this integrated into the ATS, so we pull data from the ATS, we return data to the ATS. We think there's real value there. So I've learned some lessons the hard way that workflow is really important. So if somebody has to open up a different point solution at every stage in the process, it doesn't work very well in TA.
Fascinating. I know we are coming up to time, and I know we've got about 20 questions left. So Darren, do you want to fire your top question?
Yeah, we normally So Bill, we normally talk about CAD experience to people, and in light of obviously what you've built, and how can AI powered tools kind of help improve the CAD experience whilst maintaining that human touch, a human element?
The good news is candidate experience is uniformly terrible. So we see a lot of ways you can help. The biggest one is there's speed. And then there's kind of updates to where somebody is in the process. So the way we've built our system is somebody's looking for a job, they click on a link, they're instantly on our platform where we instantly do the gap analysis for their CV, and so they're getting immediate feedback on whether or not their CV puts them in contention for that role. It does the knockout questions. So you're instantly chatting with an AI. You're getting feedback along the way. You'll be told, should I invest more time in this job, or is this really just not going to happen for me? We provide some scoring for that. We do the interview. So we think allowing people to know where they sit in the process, perform this in the first 5 minutes of the application process, as opposed to them applying 3 months later. They get a text going like, "Are you still interested in this role?" Or we need to know, "Are you willing to commute to London?" If they're good, they probably already found. They've already found another role. Like everyone just wonders. Again, they apply. They might never hear from a company. They might hear from a company months later. We don't see any reason why we can't fix the candidate experience by the feedback and speed. We think are really, really important.
I just had a follow-up question. This is my last question as well, but transparency. I mean, we always talk about a lot about having that transparency in the industry. There's a lack of, and sometimes I can see on the flip side why you don't always want to be transparent. I mean, if 3 candidates going for it and you're the third choice, do you really want to be told you're the third choice if the other 2 reject? One of the questions. So the question is around how transparent should we be when someone is applying? Where they might, when you're scoring, you're about to score, you're saying you've got a 40% chance of meeting those requirements. Should we be showing that and the information?
I don't know. I don't know is the answer. So like my engineers, like we feel really good about the system we built. So like they want to say if we have 800 candidates for a role, we want to tell somebody their number 723. But I don't think that's the right.
I quite like it.
That's the right approach.
But I quite like it, but some people won't. Yes, I get that.
I think it's fun. I think it's fun. So we've left it in the product for now because it helps us think about how accurate the system is, because we can then look at 721 and 724 and see where they sit. So there's the feedback. I think where we're leaning is that if you're in the top quartile, if it seems like you have a chance, we want to let somebody know they have a chance, so they invest more time. If it seems like it's a non-starter, we also want to give some guidance that this might not be the role for you. Our sourcing agent will then look for other open roles that might be a better fit, so we can kick off that process. So that's part of the sourcing platform we built. That's how we're built our sourcing AI agent. And then on transparency, there's also we offer a skills assessment. And the nice thing about a large language model is not only will it rate how it perceives your level of skill, but it'll explain to you why it's offered that rating. So it does offer the ability for somebody to say, "Oh, it's not understanding X," or "It's not understanding Y." Like a fun example for that is customer experience is really important, but sometimes it's direct customer experience. And so you'll have somebody who has the CV says they're a manager, in customer support. So, but we really need to know, have they ever talked to a customer? And so our system will not give somebody full marks that they're a manager of customer support for the direct experience with customer support function, because it can't tell. It'll just, and then, in either a knockout question or the interview, it'll go like, "Well, have you actually worked with a customer, or have you just managed that team?" So we try to provide that level of transparency against each of the criteria that our system sets. But it's a fun thing about large language models is you're given a score, you're not really sure why, you can just ask it. You can just say, like, "How come?" Or "How can I improve?" Or
that's really great.
But we want to do something different than the black box, where you send in a CV and then it just goes, "You're an A candidate," or "You're a C candidate," or "You're a B candidate," and you have no idea if they're prioritizing job titles or education or the quality of companies you've worked at or the skills match or what kind of assessment. So we try to provide that extra. We try to highlight each of the vectors we're evaluating you on and the reason and methodology behind each of those.
Okay. Chris, you got your 2 questions now?
Yep, sorry, I was making sure I was not on mute. So we're going to, unfortunately, Bill, and I think me and Darren could probably do this for hours. I'm seeing the list. I've got the list of questions on the right-hand side here, and there's some really good ones. So we might have to bring you back on at some point if you'll have us. But because we've hit time, we're going to jump to our last 2 questions, which we always ask every guest. We kind of talked about what you haven't built, but like what's next for Vonq and you? that is maybe outside technology? Like, what's the next stage?
I'm intrigued. So in terms of, uh, I don't know if I have a good answer. So I think we've got enough on our plate that we're really in refinement. We're in refinement mode. There's going to be seeing what the large language models, how they develop. So I mean, if you've seen the recent demos of 4.0 or Gemini,
Yeah.
there's a lot of movement there. So we watch that very carefully. It's part of the reason why we feel it was so important to build software powered by a large language model and go with the agentic architecture versus just building point solutions or enablement tools on top of large language models. So we've been kind of following that very carefully. I think that's really going to, I think it'll be the changes we see at the foundation model level, which will guide our product development going forward and our strategy going forward. So that's what we watch that very carefully. We watch that very carefully.
Fascinating. Well, we'll be following. I assume you'll be sharing more as you go as well.
So far, it's been really it's attracted some great engineers to what we're doing. We have some people that like to. Some people like to come at us with tough questions. That's, but again, it's that type of. It's really good to get the tough questions early in the process, as opposed to building something and getting them at the end. So putting things out there and then getting direct, hard feedback, I think has been really helpful for us. So we get more out of it than we put into it.
I mean, that's great to hear, because I'm looking forward to reading more. I'm sure, Darren, I know you're a big fan, so I'm sure you are as well. I guess final question before we close out is, and it's a pipeline question for TA Tech Unboxed, it's purely selfish, but what other tools are you seeing in TA and the HR space that you've been like really impressed with? Don't have to be enterprise, there could be, new to market or coming. Anything in particular that comes to mind?
I think it's the foundation models. So I think that's where we're going to see. It's difficult. I mean, there were. I prepared. I mean, there's some point solutions that I think have been really cool and interesting and powerful. And then they just get rolled up into the foundation model. So we've really struggled with the latency and having a natural conversation. On Discord, and we've been trying to interact with a lot of engineers who've been trying to solve that. We found a Y Combinator company from the last batch of Y Combinator companies that did some cool innovation. That made conversations more natural, to solve some of the latency and speed thing. We put that into our tech, and then 4 days later, OpenAI introduces 4.0, which has that. So they haven't released the speech part of it, but again, that was an example of we found this super cool company with a really great piece of tech. It solved a real problem for us. 3 days later, we don't need it.
Forward too fast.
We don't need it. So it just
cannot keep up.
Yeah,
we cannot keep up.
We're sorry for the competition. They got that company as well. They got invested, and now all of a sudden you drop them as a client because you don't need them.
So that's where we think they're going to have to find like a vertical enterprise solution for that. I mean, I think they can build out that capability within certain verticals that the generalist foundation models won't pick off, but that's going to be a real challenge for them. Plus workflow.
Awesome.
Plus commercially, it's hard to in HR. It's really hard to sell into companies. The sales cycles are so long.
Yeah,
they're so long.
Yeah,
I
know.
And often, particularly in the world we've been discussing on this show, is that in a world where they're maybe not as informed as you specifically are, Bill, that folks need a bit of time to just get used to it. Right, you're an early adopter in this particular space for a lot of the stuff you're attempting to do.
So there you have the education, you have the change. Exposing somebody to change. And then functionally, you have to integrate with their ATS, and you have to integrate it with their current workflows and their current tooling. And so, you're talking to somebody now, it could be 12 to 18 months before you go live. You want to make sure you're still relevant and useful at the end of that. And I think that's driven a lot of the decisions we've made, is thinking about, again, looking at rate of change with the core tech, thinking about what that might go to make sure that we're building for where we're going to be when we go live with the customer.
Final, very, very final. It's not really a question, but it's more like just how can folks follow you? Where would you prefer they went? How can people reach out to chat to you?
So Vonq.com, VONQ.com is a great place. We can do that. We've got Vonq.com/Copilot with a K. We picked K, Copilot with a K, just not really sure why.
It's different.
The basic notion was people are now starting to understand what a Copilot is. So leave her that. So we don't have to educate somebody as to what that is. Put a K instead of a C because we do something different. We have a very different approach to how we built our Copilot. So that's the logic. That's the logic. I still feel like it's the right call, but we might switch that. Or my LinkedIn account. If they want to just follow us as we make mistakes and stumble our way.
We'll make sure that this shows in this show's notes. Of course, there's a link to follow you on LinkedIn as well. But that unfortunately brings us to the end. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so fun.
No, this is fun. Love to do it.
Thanks, Bill.